on World Disability Day, we're looking at a specific kind of learning difficulty, autism, a neurological disorder that affects a person's social and communication skills. First up, let's take a closer look at understanding autism.
Autism is the third most common developmental disorder after mental retardation and cerebral palsy. Almost 15 million people in the country have autism.
Has everyone noticed? There's a camera!
Autism is a complex neurological disorder that causes impairments in social interaction, language, communication skills, accompanied by repetitive behaviors.
Yeah, you know it. Everyone touch head!
Autism is a spectrum disorder, which means its intensity can vary. Some people have a milder side of autism, while others display a severe one.
CDC Atlanta in 2012 said 1 in 88 children have autism, and in March 2014 they are saying 1 in 68. And we've had a study in India which has shown 14 out of 1000 children from the age of 2 to 9 years have autism. So it is definitely on the rise.
Nobody knows what causes autism, a condition that varies so widely that no two children with autism have similar qualities.
They are multifactorial causes. Some of them are there is genetic predisposition to some extent, and there are certain environmental factors. There is nothing foolproof and pathognomic that you have this genetic defect then you're going to have autism, and if you don't have this and you will not have autism. There are many theories which are there with some genetic predisposition in some situations, and there is no specific defect which has been found which will be there.
Parents and experts alike underline the need for a deep understanding of autism in efforts to care for children with autism.
Irrespective of the environment that the child is in, whether it's at home or in any other learning environment, it is vital for him to be understood. That is for anyone, more so for people with autism, because they quite often, they challenge our beliefs of normality. They look so typical. A lot of them look absolutely what we would call normal, but they have a huge amount of difficulties. Just the very fact that they can survive and exist in our world, kudos to them.
Children who are autistic may have repetitive, stereotyped body movements such as rocking, pacing or hand flapping. Another way of saying this is to talk about senses being out of sync.
Now in autistic kids, mostly you'll find, that they have sensory integration dysfunction, where the sensory input which they are perceiving from the environment is not in an appropriate way. So there comes the sensory integration therapist, where they help the child to regulate all the sensory input in an appropriate way, so they are relaxed and calm down and they can learn more, because when their sensory input are not functioning well, ultimately it's affecting your learning thing. So if I'm touching you and you're not perceiving the touch as touch and something else, then obviously the child is all disturbed.
Children with autism have trouble communicating and also with understanding what other people think and feel.
If you have a lack of social eye contact, as I mentioned to you earlier, or they're not speaking, generally at 1 year a child starts speaking a word, and if they're not speaking or they started speaking and they've regressed, generally children try to point out they like an aeroplane or they like an helicopter or anything. These children don't believe in pointing for objects. They like to be lost in the world. They like to be playing themselves rather than playing with the peers. They'll be appearing to be lost in their own world. Sometimes mothers say that the child doesn't listen to them. The child hearing is normal, but the child pretends to be deaf.
So what can society at large do?
मम्मी पापा कुछ बोले कि हम करेंगे तो मम्मी पापा वो वादा कर रहे हैं आपसे.
I always talk about this and I say the stigma is so huge, and in our Indian society we always, any disability, and I'm not talking about only intellectual, even if it is a physical disability, as a society, as a parent, we always try to push it under the carpet.
They have to be made to understand that there is nothing like normal or abnormal. There is something like a typical developing child and something who is slightly different. So the child is slightly different. You cannot expect the child to become like what we expect the child to be. We have to adapt from what it is. We have to change into the perspective and look. So the parents have to understand that the diagnosis is there when it has been given by the pediatrician or the pediatric neurologist and the psychologist team. They should understand, they should not lose hope, and they are the main people who are going to work with the child.
Some persons with autism excel in visual skills, music, math and art, but this is not always the case. Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, Charles Darwin, Michelangelo, not names that are unfamiliar, were said to have autism at different levels, but this is not confirmed.
What we need to remember is, just like you and I don't really have a special skill. Yes, you and I may be good at something, but we're really not genii. So most people with autism are actually normal autistic people. They're good at something, not that great at something, just like you and I are good at something and not that great at something. But does every autistic person have this Mozart hidden within him, have this Picasso hidden within him? No, that's not the case.
The ground realities for a parent with an autistic child are, however, very different. It is a huge struggle every day, at every stage.
Earlier acceptance comes, the better it is. And having said that, acceptance is not something that you do and you wash your hands off. I think every parent with autism, every parent of a child with autism, irrespective of the age, goes through the acceptance process almost daily. So it's something that is ongoing. But yes, when you have moved beyond the shock, the denial, the grief, which you as a parent are entitled to, the quickest acceptance comes, the better it is. Because with acceptance will come the willingness to understand the fact that people with autism are different, that it is a lifelong disability, that people with autism learn very differently.
Autism demands attention and care. The need of the hour is to enhance resources and help as much as possible.
There is no proven cure for autism, but early intervention is a must. We found one such place where ABA, or the Applied Behavior Analysis technique, is used to reduce autistic behavior in children.
Good job asking for Maurice.
Every child, whether autistic or not, has a unique personality and has different strengths, weaknesses and different learning styles. With autism, the challenges are a little more difficult. Children with autism spectrum disorder can benefit largely with early intervention. While there is no proven cure, there are many therapy options including sensory integration and behavioral therapies. Founded by the parents of a 12-year-old autistic boy, Avi, Autism Center for Excellence, or ACE, is one such place where ABA, or the Applied Behavior Analysis technique, is used.
If there isn't an option, you build one. And whatever anxieties that you feel as a parent, other parents like us are feeling it as well. It's really that simple. And when something life-changing happens to you, everyone takes something different away from it. I think for us, it was not the frustration that our child has autism. I think the frustration came largely from not having any intervention, not having any science, not having people support us. And that lack, I think that's what I took away from the experience of having a child such as Avi with autism.
Every child works with a teacher on a one-on-one basis. Positive reinforcement is the key. The child is constantly appreciated and motivated. Autism can be diagnosed as early as when the child is 6 months old. Integration and occupational therapies can help the child learn everyday activities like eating, dressing, learning and communicating using sign language. Most autistic children are good visual learners. This means that many of them can understand and comprehend information better when it is written or is in the form of a picture.
If we have a student who is speaking, then we would use speech. If we have a student who doesn't have any verbal speech but might point, what we would do is pair that point with a picture of the item. So if they're looking for, I don't know, a snack and they're pointing that way, that would be an indicator to me that that's something that motivates them. So what I need to do there is take that initiation of that communication and raise it up a level.
Arnav was about 13 months old and had achieved most of his developmental milestones. But slowly things changed. He stopped looking at his mother or smiling and his speech gradually regressed.
We faced a lot of questions. He doesn't talk. He doesn't go to school. Why is he eating this cloth? Why he has his toothpaste in his mouth? So we have, and I and my husband, we together actually try to give those socially acceptable answers to them, so that they are at peace and their curiosity is like quenched. So yes, we are still facing a lot of battles, as you call it, battles. Yes, we have to face it all lifelong, but then we are ready, and this place is equipping Arnav to battle it out himself. Now, if you see any sign which is amiss in your child, please don't hide it, raise it, because help is at hand right now. It's not the story like we had 10 years back. Our parents used to be lost. Parents never knew what's going wrong with my child, and they were falling for anything and everything which was being suggested to them. But no, not now.
Parenting a child with autism is not the real battle. The battle is truly for the child to grow with autism. Autism demands acceptance.
I think the minute you start treating autism as something different, you immediately send the message to the child that he's being looked at differently. I think the best everyone should do and can do is to be as normal or neurotypical around an autistic child as possible.
Educating children with autism can be challenging even in the best of circumstances. But trained experts, professional help, and a lot of patience and love can go a long way.
Education for those with learning challenges should not be any different from others. Schools across the globe need to be more inclusive and fair. Join us as we trace Rahul's journey of inclusion and acceptance.
Inclusion, awareness, and acceptance are the key words in autism. Rahul was diagnosed with high-functioning autism or Asperger's syndrome when he was a little over 2 years old. And like every parent, his mother hoped for the best.
It's more a question of people understanding. It's not about performance all the time. For Rahul, being in mainstream meant that he had to be in an inclusive setup. Socially, he had to be in an inclusive setup. The focus was not always on academics, though having said that, there are kids who are not academically inclined, and Rahul is. His life, his studies are his life.
The importance of inclusive education cannot be stressed enough. Rahul was lucky enough to get such an opportunity even when he moved from Mumbai to Delhi for class 11.
Rahul walked into school like any other newcomer, honestly, and we've just provided him the support that we do to any other newcomer to school. So we've given him a buddy as a classmate. He also has teacher mentors, and I have not gone out of my way to do anything special for him. Just like we are in regular touch with parents, we are in touch with his parents also.
Rahul loves his school and has made many friends in a very short time.
As a classroom behavior, there is a drastic improvement. He has settled beautifully in the class, but academics, yes, it's going a bit slow. He's doing at his own pace. You cannot compare it with the pace of the other children here, but yes, at his own pace, he's trying to cover up, but beautifully settled in class, beautifully settled.
At home, he loves to study, and love is in abundance. He loves his sister Raina immensely, and subjects that most students dread, math and science, are his favorites. He has an immense passion for electrical engineering, and this is what he says he loves to do when he's free.
I play games and watch TV, play on the computer, listen to music.
For most children with autism, inclusive education and adequate institutional support is the need of the hour.
That every child is special, and and you can't deny a child the right to education. So that's where it is, and he's happy, and his self-esteem is right here, and he loves school, whatever his mom tells me, and the teachers, I know that they have to go that extra mile for all children. Why only Rahul? That's something that we want to do.
Rahul has come a long way, and all because of generous support from his school, teachers and family.
He's come a long way from a child who wouldn't look at you like you're looking at me, I'm looking at you in the eye, talking to each other, to a child who wouldn't respond, but he could talk for hours to himself. He'd stand at the window and talk for hours, but if you asked him something, Rahul, are you hungry? Rahul, are you thirsty? Do you want something? There would be no response. So from there, you've seen him, he's come a really long way.
Autism demands acceptance, and Rahul has definitely found his share. It's time for a short break. Do come back for more.